I just had the pleasure of wrapping up an amazing conversation with Maury Stephan, a woman of Dartmouth, class of 1987. And this conversation was just so special and powerful because Maury really opened up to talk about her experiences at an Ivy League school, being a woman at an Ivy League school in the 80s, and what it was like for her to make that decision to not go down the traditional path, which we oftentimes feel so much pressure to do, whether that's medical school or legal or law school or the finance industry, Wall Street, or some academic path. She tried it. She tried on that suit for a little bit. It was not fitting her. And so she made the courageous decision to pivot towards a career in acupuncture, massage therapy, breath work, and really helping to heal the body. She helped me explore the importance of fascia. And so we nerded out on that for a little bit. And you're going to hear all about how our breath, how our body can really help release the stresses, the tension, all the bullshit that we carry inside. And lastly, we closed out with an incredible breathwork practice that she shared with me. You'll hear it for yourself. It brought me to tears. It was incredibly moving and stirred inside my soul a deep sense of peace. And so I look forward to sharing this conversation with you. If you are looking for inspiration, if you are looking to believe and know that you are not alone in your own self doubt and your own thoughts of imposter syndrome, I invite you to this conversation with us. Enjoy.
Wow.
Hello.
Oh,
Hi. Maury, I love the rainbow and star in your background.
thank you.
Well, guess what?
Yeah, what?
You are our lead off Ivy Sister spotlight, Maury.
Oh, that's a little scary.
This is just an opportunity for other women. Like I think so much reclaim our power and confidence when we know we're not alone and we hear another woman like going through something maybe we're going through or sharing a part of her life that we went through at some point. So
Yeah,
that's really, the intention here is to highlight like some stuff you're working on, and a little bit of your journey as well, like how it's
yeah,
led you to this breath work and your massage
yeah,
business. And I was reading on your website a little bit of your journey as it relates to you trying to put on the banking power suit for a little bit and
yeah.
what that was like.
Oh, so not
Um,
me.
yeah. But before we go there, I want to start with I would love to hear like how we first spoke. I think I was looking back. We connected back in 2022,
Yeah, I think it
after the
was after,
summit.
yeah, after your first summit. So,
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's been a journey. And how did you end up like you were kind of on the sidelines for a while. What was it that intrigued you to say, I'm going to join and step into Ivy League Sisters
Um,
officially?
I think it was, I'm not even sure, but I'm trying to find my people. And I mean, I have a lot of people, but and some are great, and some fly in and out, and I just was looking for a little bit more of maybe people who have been on, nobody's been on the exact same journey, but having that piece in common, that Ivy League, oh, for people that know, because I'm in the South and they're like, Dartmouth, what's that? But some people do know, and there's enough people now, at least where I am in Atlanta, there's transplants from all over the country. Um, and they kind of they look at you a little different. I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
just a person who went to
right.
college, just like you. And let me tell you,
Yeah.
it was a big party school.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I sometimes I joke to my parents, like my education came a lot from I went to like this intense private high school. Oh, it was intense and competitive and cutthroat. And in some ways, Dartmouth was like, I'm just here now to get the degree.
Yeah, yeah.
Not so much. Yeah.
Which high school did you go to?
I went to Wheeler. It's a school in Providence, Rhode Island. It's
Mhm.
like, 70 some graduating class, and it's kind of a feed school into Brown, but that to me felt like, oh, I can't just go literally like down the sidewalk. That's not gonna cut it. So Dartmouth was a 3.5 hour drive from where I grew up. And um I played field hockey, so that also kind of just helped me focus and decide, okay, which schools are going to be a fit. How
So,
did you end up at Dartmouth? And do you remember the like day you got your acceptance letter?
um, I, I don't, but I don't remember the day I got my acceptance letter. I wound up at Dartmouth. I, there's a bunch of stories, but my father he went to Dartmouth as a freshman, and then he was told by his father that his sister wouldn't be able to go to college because he was at college. So he looked for and got an ROTC scholarship, but the scholarship was full. The quota at Dartmouth was full for the Navy ROTC, so he had to transfer, and he transferred to Penn. So, years later, I had come along, and my parents got divorced when I was 13, and that was challenging, and not a good time. And my parents did not have a great divorce, but it wasn't like the worst. But it wasn't good. And I would, at that age, I was, very close to my mom, and her best friend would come over and they'd sit and drink, and I'd sit with them and just listen. And I heard things I shouldn't have heard, not that she was trying to turn me against my dad or anything, but really, little ears are listening, or medium-sized ears are listening. Don't talk about this stuff. Um, and I think I made the decision to go to Dartmouth because I wanted to, it was my extending an olive branch to my dad.
Mm. Um, I want to hear about your identity with the Ivy degree, like how if it's meant, what it's meant, because everyone has a little bit of a different, like what's been sort of the externalized thing that maybe you think of the Ivy degree? How has it been internalized for you?
Yeah.
And you graduated in 87.
Yep.
So, that's been how many years now, and how much does it still fit as a part of you?
So, when we came on campus, first of all, there was only 30% women, not even a third women were there. It was only 10 years that they had been admitting women. And and having grown up in the Northeast, everybody knew the Ivies. So that was like, oh, the Ivies, that was a really big deal for a long time. And it was interesting because, like, okay, we did belong to sort of, I never thought we were rich, but we certainly weren't poor. And my awareness now is I mean, there were definitely people that had a lot more money than we did. Like, I didn't like to wear that I'm better than hat. So it was weird going off to this Ivy League where, people kind of think, oh, you're better than, you're whatever. And so it has always been uncomfortable for me to wear that. Also, when I went off to Dartmouth, I did feel, I think one of the things I felt is there's some really smart people here, and I did not feel very smart at all. So, I scraped through with a B average, like my final report. And actually it was a 2.97, so it was technically not quite.
Oh, you're exposing yourself with the
I
technicalities.
know, I know.
Isn't that funny how
Um,
years later it's still you can remember those little
yeah,
things?
yeah,
I
so,
know.
yeah, those very little things that don't really matter, do they? Um, and some of that was, I don't think it was that I wasn't smart enough, but again, I didn't care as much, and I wanted to experience everything Dartmouth had to offer, and maybe I should have.
So when you sat at that precipice of graduation, did you know where you were going, what you were doing, what was next for you? What was that like?
So I applied to a bunch of different jobs and didn't get in anywhere. Um, and that was hard because I really felt like a failure.
Mm.
You feel like a failure that, here I am, I've got this nice little Dartmouth degree and nobody wants me. And I didn't finish the pre-med. I had been pre-med. I didn't finish the pre-med because I was really, um, so self-confidence was a lot of it. I was not, um, n- you know, afraid because I was told people were sabotaging experiments in the lab classes. And I still didn't think I was good enough anyway. And I just decided I'm not going to do that. And part of that too is you look around and also like you look around, you're like, "Oh, wait, doctors have to work 48 hours straight. Like I can't do that. I pulled one academic all-nighter. I pulled a couple of all-nighters, but they weren't for classes. And I was worthless the next day. Like, how am I going to make death decisions in a hospital if I don't have any sleep? So that was one that kept me out. And
What was your
but
why even going into being the medical? Like, have you been always,
I've always
um,
been very health conscious, and I'm intuitive, and I'm a caretaker, and I love to get splinters out of people's feet, and like I
oh,
like
I
to
can
do
use
all
you
that.
around my house.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
use
I
you.
love to do all that, and I don't get the heebie-jeebies looking at stuff. I can't look at my own blood, but it doesn't bother me to see anybody else's.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, definitely health and healing was my realm. But I was so terrified, and like I think most kids, but even when you go off to an Ivy League school, it's like, well, you either have to become a professional, like doctor, lawyer, professor, or you have to work for an investment bank. And
That's
there's
how
no
it feels. It feels like those are the tracks, right? And you
right.
watch your classmates like picking their track or
Yeah.
legal. I don't know if you said that one, but that's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And there's not a lot of options out there. So that was really hard. So what I ended up doing, this was really cool when I had um, nothing guiding me. There were two women in my class, one of whom I knew, one I did not know, who were biking across the country, leaving from Hanover and making it to Seattle, and were looking for, at least one other person to join them. And that ended up being me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was funny because my dad was like, no, you're not doing that. And then he said, well, you need to call that. I don't know if you remember this incident, but there were like some crazy guys in the mountains in Colorado who had kidnapped some female runner. And she was like, I don't, she, they tied her up in a cabin, and she was able to escape after several days, or I don't know how, might have been weeks. And so she was able to escape. They didn't kill her. I don't know what else, what all their intentions, and I don't remember what they did with her. But he was like, "You are not doing that. You're going to call the state police in every state out there, and ask them what they think." He's thinking this is just the craziest thing ever. So I called up Colorado, and I don't even know what to say. I'm like, I'm thinking about biking across the country, and my dad wanted to know if it's safe. And they're like, come on out, this is a great place.
Oh, dad's plan backfired.
Totally. So, and I mean, there's a million stories from that, but the other funny one is that I had never slept. I didn't even remember that I had never slept in a tent before. Like we were biking, we were gonna tent out. And so the first night we're like we're setting up our stuff and setting up the tent that we're all gonna sleep in. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I mean, I did have a sleeping bag, but I'm like, I've never slept in a tent before.
How many
I
weeks were
hope
you tenting? How long did it take?
almost 3 months, about 3 months.
Wow.
Yep. So I liked it
What
because I
an
was like, I like,
experience. I can't believe
yeah,
you've biked. It's one thing to say you've
yeah,
driven across the country. You can say you've biked across the
yeah,
country.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
So,
my goodness. How many
so that's,
marathons have you done and
I have
triathlons?
done, I've done about like, let's see, New York, I did New York, Boston, but Boston, I was back of the pack. back when you were kind of allowed to do that.
I don't even know what
And
that means. What is back of the pack?
I was unofficial. I didn't have
Oh,
a
okay.
race number. I didn't qualify, um, and I did Big Sur, which was amazing. And then more, those were like pretty close to one another. And then I did Savannah about 10 years ago, I think, 10 or 12 years ago. That one I only did because a friend asked me to do it with her, and I had these visions. We'd do some training runs together, and she was doing it as like a bucket list for her, and she never trained. And it was a rock and roll, so you could do a half marathon or a full, like you sign up for the one you want, but then you could always change it to lower. And so I trained all summer long. It was grueling going on these long runs by myself, here in Atlanta. And she never trained. We did go down and she ended up doing the half marathon, but we ran the first probably 5K together. But we were running so fast it really turned up her stomach. So she pushed through, but we didn't stay there. She's like, you go on. And when I got to the half marathon, at half point, I was like, I'd really like to stop, but I don't want to like influence her to make her own decisions. So I kept going.
You did it.
I did it.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, never again. Somebody's going to sign in blood that they're going to be my training partner if they want me to do a marathon with them. They're
What do
just
they teach?
hot.
What is a marathon like? What does it teach you in like a nutshell? Like, what is your why? Like, what's the
Why did I do it? I
or
did
what
it.
did
I
you
mean,
gain from it afterwards? Like, what was it like? Oh my gosh, this taught me. Did it teach you something about yourself? Like commitment, person? I don't know.
yeah,
It's
perseverance, really sticking it out. I I realized I could do things that you kind of, I mean, I've walked when I was growing up, we did like this, I don't know, I can't remember what the fundraiser was, Walk for America or something, Walk for Mankind. And it was like 20 miles in one day, but it was I mean, some people ran it, but I was in fifth grade. We were walking this thing. And so I knew I could do the distance, but just yeah, like pushing yourself. I mean, any kind of athletic thing that you don't do, whether it's even, for somebody that's never been athletic, well, start walking around the block. You can do a 5K someday. That might be your marathon. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be some huge thing, but for me, I like to push my body. It feels really good for me to um, move, sweat, and feel the pain and still
yeah,
go, and
yes.
the pain is not like stupid pain, like not, I mean, not, sometimes you have to stop if you
Injury
really have
pain.
pain. Right, exactly.
Yeah. Right. There's that
Yeah,
good pain for your body, and then there's the like it's warning you and it's telling you to
yeah.
take a chill
It's
pill.
time to stop. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I would love to hear about your more unconventional, untraditional path with your breath work and the work that you do and
yeah.
what led you there and why you're passionate about it.
So when I was working for Chase, it was like 1,000 death by 1,000 cuts. I mean, it was just awful. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't feel like there was any guidance.
What were you doing? What was officially your like kind of role
So
or
I was originally in a training program. They changed their training program system while I was there. So the original training program I was in was a branch management training program to like bring us up through the ranks, do this branch management. But we were there for probably 4 or 5 months because we started in February, and then they did this new training program where there were grads of other schools that were coming on board, and they would combine everybody, like all the different training programs. Instead of having like a small one here and a small one there, they had like 100 people, and we just got pushed into that group. And so then I did a stint where I ended up having to be in Miami for 3 months, and I was working with like the personal banking group, um, which was fine. But again, it's like I don't understand the purpose of this project even. Like nobody could really. I don't know if they didn't explain it or I just was like, money is not my. I love having money in my life, but money is not my bottom line. And if I like what I'm doing, I could, maybe I won't, but I could do it for free.
Mm.
And then when our year was up, they stopped us early, like when our year was up. And I was put on a special project where we were putting in the first kind of LAN computer systems where all the computers were talking to each other in the branches, and they were more coherent instead of standalone branches. But the people that were running it were like the head of the project, the head of the whole project didn't even know how to turn on a computer.
No, no. Oh no,
Yeah,
the incompetence.
right. I mean, he might have been a good manager, but I didn't feel like it because he really could. We just couldn't relate, and
Mm.
so there were some good, few good people, but for the most part, it was just I was just dying there, and that's when I had done my first, I was training for my first marathons, and I went through, for me, a very traumatic breakup. I, just fell hook, line, and sinker wholeheartedly for somebody, and it didn't work out. That's life. But
I just felt my
there was,
stomach like flip flop though, just feeling that.
yeah,
Like,
it's like, it was betrayal. I mean, and I was a stupid one because he was living with somebody, and I thought it was sort of a trial experiment. And he had been living with that person for about 7 or 8 years. And I didn't even know he was living with somebody when we first got together, when it was like, oh, you've already got me on the line.
oh
So then he
no.
throws it into my face. Oh, by the way, I'm living with somebody. It's been a little while, and it's your call. And so, the stories we tell ourselves, right?
Yep.
Oh, a little while. You tried it for 6 months, a year, not your thing. You're going to get out of this. Yeah, no. So that was very traumatic. I was in a job I hated, but I was doing a lot of running, and I ended up going out to visit my aunt who lived in San Francisco and running the Beta Breakers.
Oh, did you dress up?
No, I didn't dress up because I didn't even know that part. This was a long time ago.
You were one of the
But
legit people.
she ended up taking me to see a massage school out there in Emeryville. And it was perfect because they had an admissions office who wore suits. The students weren't wearing suits, and the instructors were, they dressed professional, but they weren't wearing suits. But it was like, okay, this can be a legitimate career. It's not just like these fly by night kind of things. So it satisfied my needs, and that's where I ended up leaving. And it was, and I was going to use it to, like, okay, maybe I can do massage to help put myself through medical school, but I still hadn't figured out sort of like that bridge program that they were just starting to do that. Um, and before I'd gone out and gone to massage school is when I'd broken my collarbone. And I got really fascinated because I broke my collarbone and saw an acupuncturist who just made the pain go away. Yeah, I mean, the doctor put me on Percocet, and I'm like flying with the moon and hating it. Like, this is, no, can't do that. And I went to go see her, and she put needles in, and I didn't even, I think she gave me like some compresses to put on my clavicle, but not like no medicine. And I never took another pain pill. I went to see her 3 times a week for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And I did visualization to heal my collarbone. I did visualization for running because when I wrote in that thing, I told the doctor that I was running a marathon in 8 weeks. There's no way I can be on disability for 8 weeks. And he was just like, huh? And
Don't mess with power of the mind.
I know. And she like had me visualize my running, and I that like the stuff in the mind is so powerful. That I did the marathon. It was my first one. I completed in under 4.5 hours. And yeah, I went back to work after 3 weeks. Yeah, that was
Oh,
one really powerful mind. But anyway, so between that, I also thought, well, maybe I will start acupuncture school, which I did in
you're like, I'm
99.
sold. You see that kind
Yeah,
of experience for yourself. It's like
yeah.
you could just pass that gift to others.
Yeah. So I went to massage school, did massage for a number of years, and was able to go to acupuncture school and massage. But in And in 99, I got married, and that's when I went to acupuncture school, and I got pregnant the week after I started acupuncture school. My
Okay, so that
husband,
sounds like it was a shock.
no, so here's the thing. I was trying to get pregnant and we
Okay,
didn't
I was
get
like,
pregnant.
did the acupuncture like supercharge it?
So I'd been trying to get pregnant, and we got married in 98, and we started trying to get in August of 98. So we're coming up on our anniversary, but in 98 we got married, and after 6 months, and I was 34 now. Um, I hadn't gotten pregnant, and I'm thinking, I eat healthy, I take care of myself, I'm fit, like what is it that's keeping me from getting pregnant? So we decided to just see a fertility special to see what it like. Is it just we're just not patient enough, or is there something that needs to be done? Because I don't want to wait till I'm 40, or like the longer you wait, the harder it gets. Had to have blood work, and I actually saw my primary care first before we saw the fertility. And he looked and he said, "Well, your thyroid's a little high," but I was asymptomatic. And he explained, well, not, sometimes normal people are on either end of the bell curve,
Mhm.
so like I would say you're fine, especially since you're asymptomatic, but maybe whatever. So I went to the fertility specialist, and she was like, "Oh no, you will never get pregnant until we put you on thyroid hormones, and we and it's in like the 2 range," because I was like 5.5 or 6 or something. I was like, okay, well, if that's all it is, I don't want to go on thyroid medicine right now. And I'm going to start acupuncture school. And if I'm not pregnant in 2 years, then we'll come back. And I got pregnant
Right.
right away. Take the pressure off, you get pregnant.
Oh, I know. It's such a, gosh, so interesting
So,
how that is, right?
yeah, yeah.
For women, I
And
really just feel for the whole
oh,
fertility,
yeah,
like it's just such a journey. And I'm so glad so many more women now are just sharing their stories and sharing their experiences and so much more in the open, because I think in the
yeah,
past it's been like kind of hidden, or people have just kind of held it to themselves and
yeah,
not talked about either challenges with getting pregnant or their journey of using fertility technology to help, or miscarriages, or you name it.
right,
So
right. Yeah.
like I was
So,
convinced myself that I had made so many prayers to not be pregnant in younger years, that when it came time that I wanted to get pregnant, I'm like, I be able to. I think I'm probably
yeah,
not the person. And then you just never know. Like I mean, I
yeah,
got pregnant really quickly, but my heart, I think if I had been someone that it struggled with, it would have been
yeah,
really, really hard for me to like, if someone said to me, you just got to let the pressure off, like just take it easy.
yeah.
It's like the more,
Yeah,
like
but
don't
that's
think and then you
easy to
think.
say. Yeah,
Right.
right. If I tell you don't think about a pink elephant, what's the first thing you see, right? Pink elephants all
We
over the
were thinking
place.
the same thing.
Yep, yep.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we
Wow.
moved we moved from there. Like 3 weeks before I gave birth, my husband told me I'm selling my company to a company. He did an online software program, but to a company in Georgia where we are. And my first thing I said is, when he said we're moving to Georgia, I said, "Do you mean the country?"
Oh man.
Yeah. And then my midwife said, "You can't go anywhere until," because I was literally 3 weeks after he told me that I gave birth. And she's like, "You can't go anywhere until he's at least 8 weeks old. You have to let his spirit settle." So
Mm.
we 8 weeks to the day, we were on a plane to Georgia. And that was hard. That was a really hard time.
Wow, I bet. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, because I gave up everything. Like when I moved out to California, I moved out there because I wanted to move there and live there. And I stayed. And then he's pulling me to like the deep south.
Yeah. And it's where you are now, right? That's
That's
where you
where we
still
are.
are.
We've stayed. The inertia of like we didn't have a reason to go anywhere. So that was hard.
Tell me a little bit more about your, just like how you've been so intuitive with your body, right? All these years. And then you even work on others' bodies,
Yeah.
and the how we of our body does kind of keep score, right? Like it
It
holds
does.
emotion. Can you talk into that just a bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, the way I work it is we all have fascia within our body. And years ago, when the book Grey's Anatomy was being written and, drawn and sketched by whatever his name Grey is, not the TV show.
Thank you for clarifying because my brain
Yeah.
went right to the TV show.
Yes, of course. Um, he would he would dissect cadavers and he'd pull the fascia away and it was dead and it wasn't living tissue anymore. And he'd pull it away and he'd say, it's nothing, it's just a container, it's like saran wrap within your body. The first World Fascia Conference was held in 2010. So
This is
very
new.
recent.
Yeah, this
This
is
is
new
very
stuff.
because our technology has gotten so much better to be able to actually see, with a
What is
microscope.
fascia? Can you just give us even a
Yeah,
little?
yeah. So fascia it is made up of three components called elastin, collagen, and a ground substance, which is like water and minerals, right? And it looks within your body kind of like a spider web or even a three-dimensional sweater within your body. It wraps around every single fiber, every single muscle fiber in your muscles. And it also really every single cell because it wraps around your brain, it wraps around your bone things and everything. It is a container. It holds your muscles together. But what it is like your muscle cell, almost like saran wrap. And you've seen fascia. If you've ever even like cut off the fat of like a chicken breast, or if you've taken apart a chicken, that really thin, clear membrane, that is fascia. Okay.
Okay, that helps
But
me. Yeah.
when and it is wrapped around every cell, and then several cells are bundled together, and there's fascia wrapped around that, and that's called a fascicle. And then several of those fascicles are bundled together, and fascia is wrapped around that, and that's what we call a bundle. So you got cell, fascicle, bundle, and then several bundles are put together and wrapped with fascia, and that's what makes up what we call like your pec muscle or your rectus abdominis or whatever. um, in your body in a muscle, like we talk about, the tendon connects the muscle to the bone. Well, the tendon is primarily fascia because the muscle cell has run out of it. If you took the muscle cells away from the body, you would be left with like a saran wrap looking person. It's in everything. And with that World Fascia Conference that I told you about, there's lots of information, but this fascia is actually like they're tubules. And what my teacher tells us is that the fascia tells more our muscles what to do, but it can store memories, it can store, it stores injuries, and it stores both physical and emotional injuries. And especially even if, like, as we tell ourselves like that, oh, that really got me in the gut. Eventually you're going to have, you may have gut issues, and your gut's going to be held tight. And so we need to open up that fascia because the fascia is so strong, it can create 2,000 pounds per square inch of pressure on an area. So it is like that pink elephant standing on your chest if, like if you're suffering from grief,
Right.
right? People
Which is how
feel
it
that.
feels sometimes. I'm like, yeah, it's
Yes.
like it's a clenching. Like I've had women tell me, like it is like tight, barely can breathe,
Yeah.
can't get a full breath.
So, and it stores memories, and there's some really cool stories around that. But one very interesting story that I read, was not me, but this guy who wrote in like on a Facebook, the myofascial page, that he was treating somebody in his office and he was doing a hold on his chest, and he held for a really long time. And it was like a Sunday afternoon in a quiet business park where his office is, and nobody was around. And all of a sudden, both he, the practitioner, and the client heard a gunshot. And he looked, like he knew nobody was there, and he looked to make sure nobody was there. Then he writes, the backstory is the client he had been working on had been shot in the chest at close range 4 times. and his body was releasing the trauma of that gunshot, even by the sound.
Oh my gosh.
So our body holds on to this stuff, and not every trauma is held on to. We don't even know what a trauma is. I always say, look, you can play, peekaboo or hide around a corner and go boo to a toddler, and some of them will laugh and some of them will be scared shitless. You don't know
I know.
who the trauma is affecting, and you don't know how it's going to affect anybody.
So true. It's
So,
just, it's a little bit of a mystery and not
yeah,
always so linear.
yeah. So that's the body work piece, is I work with that. And then I started getting involved um, with the breath. And I've always been fascinated with the breath. Partly, swimming, you have to really control your breath. I've done some, rebirthing, childhood stuff, things
Mm.
came up. And I found this course online, and it just really resonated with me. But the thing is that we go around as people not feeling our feelings. We're living in our
Mm.
heads, we're not in our body, and we're all over the place. And we're busy, 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 and we're stuffing, stuffing, stuffing. And if we do that too much, we become dysregulated. And regulation doesn't mean that we're the same all the time, but it just means that we have the choice of being up and down, right? But if we're dysregulated, we go way up and we might stay in up, or we go way down and we might, like not be able to get out of bed.
Mm.
And if we do that too long, sometimes if we're like way up and, like go, 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 we might be put into what we call a forced rest, where, you actually get sick and then
Yeah.
you can't do anything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, except for the people that then go and get a steroid shot from their doctor.
Right.
Right? It's one of the worst things you can do. Feel it, be with it. Your sickness will get
I
over
know.
quicker, you know?
The
But
pushing through and the way we can use now medicine to numb things and to push through is scary to me
yeah, yeah.
because our
And
body is
you,
trying to speak.
it is, and we don't listen to it.
Right.
We don't listen to it. And so with this particular breath work that I do, we use the breath to help you, just get into your body and to be able um, to feel, like to give yourself permission to feel
Yeah.
and get it out. And one of the things that's really important to notice, if you ever watch a toddler, right, they're going to have their temper tantrum. But if you just let them have their temper tantrum, how long does it last? 90 seconds, 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, that's
We
us.
need that release, right? How much have we been trying to like pressurize and keep it dampened
Right,
down? It's got
right.
to come out somehow, some way, and doing it with intention versus the ways it
Yeah,
comes manifest is like,
right. Or
yeah,
cutting somebody off on the road and
right. Exactly. Losing, becoming unconscious with your ability to manage, like you're saying, the dysregulation.
yeah.
Oh, do you have any like a tip or tool that we could even do right now or something that's really
Yeah,
simple
I
that
can take you through just
yeah,
a real quick, like this is like a daily practice. Okay.
yeah. I love it.
So what we're gonna do, gonna just give you a minute, but I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna have you take 30 breaths, and I'll count, you don't count. So, and it doesn't have to be exact, but 30 counts. You're gonna breathe in through your mouth and out through your mouth. You're gonna try to breathe as deep and as big, feel like a 360-degree breath. So put your hand first on your chest and your belly, and just take one deep breath in and feel your chest and belly rise. Okay. And then for a moment, put your hand on your sides so that as you breathe in and feel your sides expand. We're going to focus on the breathing in at this point. So the exhale is not necessarily long, just kind of a ha out. So in and out,
Ah.
in and out, in. Take your time, but when you're ready to breathe in, I want you to breathe in a breath of gratitude. Connect with gratitude for your family, for your sisters, for your friends, and for your powerful self. And whenever you're ready, you kind of wiggle your fingers and slowly open your eyes.
Wow. What a beautiful gift, Maury. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was really special. Just felt that like peace in the present. I felt such deep, 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 deep gratitude.
Good.
Such an honor, like this life and everything. The music is really special too. It really helps. For me, what was coming up was like I'm in my own container right now with women going through a archetypal journey of all these different feminine archetypes, and we're in the primal goddess right now.
Oh,
And so when you
cool.
played that music, I was just
Yeah.
feeling that tribal, like Shakti and breath and
Yeah.
fire. And then it was like
Yeah.
getting into like the mist. It was turning from like fire breath and dragon breath into like cool mist. And like, oh, it was just
I love
really,
it.
yeah.
That is awesome. That is beautiful. So that's
Ah,
like a real short practice. We do longer ones. We do like a recep, which is good for smaller set or a group setting, maybe with a corporate, like corporate talking, or groups that want to
mm,
just get a little bit more power and connection. And then we do a journey, which again you can do as an individual, you can do it in person, you can do it over Zoom, and you can do groups, different things of groups. And I did an individual one with a woman about a month ago. So she came, she had to drive 3 hours. And so she came and she got an hour and a half massage. Actually, she really got about 2 hours of massage. And then we did this journey, which is like an hour to an hour and a half. The journey was really an hour, but the explanation and giving time after, giving space, we allow an hour and a half. And I was trying to connect with her to say, just like want to, debrief, let me know how it went. And she came finally today. We were able to connect. And she said she has had major improvement in concentration and focus, to the point where a coworker came up to her twice, and like 1 week after and 2 weeks after, and the second week he's like, did you change your ADHD medicine? And she's like, I'm not even on it now. She had stopped taking it right before she came on this journey. So she felt like, her focus is so much better. She had been like totally insomniac before she came. She said, my sleep has been amazing. And she said because she got rid of some stuff, like she's able to have that choice of regulation of her emotion that we talked about. So she said, I am having emotional experiences, but they're good, and I'm feeling them, and I'm not always engaging, because she had an incident where she was totally irritated, and usually she would have like got into it, and she's like, oh wait, I can just leave. She just
mm.
left.
It's detached herself.
Yeah. So, like you can make that choice.
Yeah, that's such a gift. The quicker I always think of like the rubber band, the quicker you can just like, yeah, kind of rebound without it hanging, literally clinging to energy cords, whatever it
Yeah.
is, right? And disconnect. And that is such a
Yeah.
practice, and especially for anyone that's like in our field of work. I mean, it happens to anybody, but for me being coaching and dealing with lots of different people's energies, sometimes I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to transition, separate, be able to regulate and shifting the gears, those
Right.
transitions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this has been such a gift. Thank you for letting me
Yeah.
experience it. And I mean, as women here that are listening, if you can, like, how can people, because you mentioned you do this over Zoom, and I just got to experience it over Zoom
Yeah.
virtually.
Yeah.
So, how do people find you? I'll put it in any sort of notes that go beneath this. But
Um, you know, I mean, I do have an Instagram. It's not very active. I have to really try to bring this into Instagram. There's people doing, posting like even from my group, about stuff on Instagram. So that's at Anne Maury,
Mhm.
ANNEMAURY. They can send me an email, Maury maury.stephan@gmail.com, or through the Ivy League Sisters, they can send me a note. And yeah, that's probably the best way if they're looking
Okay.
for a somatic breathwork practitioner. I'm in their database, but if they're all over the country and they really want an in-person experience, they can find other practitioners close by, and I can help them with
Okay.
that too.
That's great.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a power hour or some special thing. I know we kind
I
of
would
talked about it.
love
If you'd be
to.
willing to do something for our
I
community,
would love to.
I
I
think
would
that'd be
love to
really
do.
special. Cool. Well, I have 3 questions that I'm going to be asking everyone who
Okay.
does these Ivy spotlights. So before we close up here, first question is self-doubt, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, or people pleasing? Which one is the biggest thorn on your rose stem?
Oh my God, can I pick all of them?
Self-doubt, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, people pleasing. Which one just like
Right now, probably it would almost be a tie between self-doubt and imposter syndrome right now. But as I told the woman today, her call came at such a timely time when she was telling this, because I said, I've been in this, very self-doubt kind of period. And to give me that gift of telling me how much that work did for her was, I'm just the observer, but it's important to have observers.
in having that feedback loop and have those words come back. Like, I hope
Yeah.
anyone that is listening to this remembers to just, if you feel it, pay that compliment forward, because
Yeah.
those of us in service work or energy work or that kind of,
Yeah.
it really makes a big, sometimes people assume like, oh, you're great, don't you? And it's like, no,
No.
I have my moments and I definitely question myself. And when you're on the
Yeah.
path of really trusting, like, it sounds like you've landed where you are because you've continued to trust your intuition, you've listened to your body, like it's been telling
Yeah.
you where to go. But it doesn't make it easy. It's still it's
No.
a it's an act of service and practice, a lifelong commitment to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, next question. What's a lie you tell yourself?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not good enough, whatever that means.
Mm. Yep.
And yeah, I don't know what I'm doing.
Amen to that. Like, deep bow to you for that one. And last one, just use your intuition here. What's one thing you're willing to share here today that would be a little edgy for you to share?
Hmm. Ooh. I mean, you've heard a lot of what I said. Edgy. So I mean it when I say I'm a really open person. And I've told you, and it's not a secret. My child came out to me as trans a year ago. And there's I get it. My child gets to be what they want to be. And I do not, for the life of me, understand it. And I know maybe it's not something to understand, it just is. But I, in my heart of hearts, feel like I gave birth to a girl who is, because I don't even say wants to be, because that would diminish what they are, is a boy. And that's really hard. And yet, because I have to add this in, that's the edgy part. I love my child. And when my child asks me, would you feel better if I did, like, for example, they were starting hormones and I don't like it, but would you feel better if I went off hormones? And I said, okay, I'm going to answer your question. The answer is yes, but it's not about me. And I know that I can hold that space, even if even if I don't agree with it, I can still love my child. I can still love you. You can tell me things, and anybody can tell me something, and I can hold space for that.
That's such a human and vulnerable answer, Maury, and I can feel that in my heart and the authenticity and the truth behind that. I'm just, it's this, and this is how I feel. You're asking for my opinion, but again, you are you, and the what comes with being an autonomous soul that makes its own decisions and choices, and to love all.
Yeah. Yeah. People
Yeah.
are people, and every person is deserving of love and is love. and has love. They just may not have figured out how to access it yet, but that is really, that's the thing. So I'm
And
here to
I
show
think
you
of that
love.
person in those, for your son now, like how that, like the courage that has had to take, right, in that journey internally. Like I
Yeah.
sometimes think of myself, if I was born anatomy wise a woman, but I just felt in myself, in my soul, I'm a boy, like to one, be in that struggle, two, to come out and say it, and like that's, oh, that's difficult, and it's beautiful that we are in a space now, in a place where I think more people are able to acknowledge. I don't think it's as like as hidden and as weird or strange or whatever as people like. I think it's been happening for eons and eons and eons, and people have
Right.
just lived in their own torment and stress, and
Right. I
that's
mean,
my view of it.
when I was growing up, that was not even an option.
Thing, right?
You just like, no, just no, and there's people that still think it should be just no, but
Yeah.
that's not your journey to decide for somebody else either.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, presencing it here, and thank you for this. Thank you for being our lead
Thank
off
you.
and
Woohoo.
starting something really special. Like, I'm so excited to hear what will come out and be birthed
Yeah.
in these conversations. And that was when we were doing that breathing exercise. That's my kids showed up, and then I was just like feeling this like birthing energy of creation,
Love it.
right? A creation.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, go
Thank you.
enjoy your weekend.
Thank
And
you.
yes, thank you. And we'll talk offline about getting some
Yeah,
dates lined up to do something special.
that'd be great. I'd love that. All
All
right.
right, Maury. Thanks so much. I'll
You're
be in touch
welcome.
with you. All right.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.